Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and all between the binary. This is Get Informed with Wajeeh. I'm Wajeeh Lion. Thank you so much for tuning in on a Saturday morning. We had a good live stream this morning with Malcolm Nance, and then he had a interview with Maya Nofel on X, and I wanted people to have time to go hear what Malcolm has to say, and then allow people to come back to this podcast. Yeah. Yeah. What is the RSVP date for the MOU? There is no RSVP date, RSVP. There is currently none. Don't expect any at the moment. And I'm telling you, even the MOU, okay, I think this is what MOU is. For many of you that don't know what an MOU is, it's basically a memorandum of understanding. A memorandum of understanding is very fancy uh, description for let's agree to talk. Can we agree to talk? That's what it means. Can we at least have a time for you, me, and sit down? Doesn't mean that we made an agreement. No, it's an agreement to make an agreement, or it's an agreement to sit down to talk about an agreement. So they're talking about how to have a talk about the agreement. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and share. If you are watching this on YouTube, you are watching a recording. Come to Substack and subscribe to myself. Also, if you're on YouTube and you're watching this, take a minute, subscribe, like, comment, and click the bell button so you receive the latest updates. On Sunday, I have a surprise for you. On this coming Sunday, after Mother's Day, we have an in-depth interview with Professor Harb Rihaba. Hold on, let me triple check. Professor. Guys, today we're not number, we're below the top 10. We need your support to make it back to the top 10. We're on top 13 now. Doctor. Yeah, I was right. Dr. Rehab. Professor Rehab. She's a professor. She's a strategist. She's a geopolitical analyst. She's been a consultant for more than 20 years. And she specializes in anti-terrorism and U.S. Middle Eastern relations. And in the past month, she's published 3 articles or more about the fall of the United States hegemony in the Middle East. It's an important topic, and it's important to have people who are Middle Eastern experts from the Middle East tell you what they're seeing that you're not seeing. You've been hearing me on and on and on and on. Maybe it's time for us to talk to a different professional. I don't know why this is acting so stupid. Here you go. Do other the other Gulf states realize Netanyahu's obsession will eventually turn on them? Listen, Netanyahu, as long as you sign the Abrahamic Accord, he's okay with you. He just wants the Arab nations to say Israel is an actual state that we recognize. Israel is a country that we will ignore their human rights violations against the Palestinian people. And before Netanyahu turns against the GCC nations, the citizens and them, would more likely turn against the kingdom if they continue to go that way. And we can take a look at how some of the tribal leaders are giving, MBS currently hard time over his leniency with the Israeli government. To the point where some tribes were talking about removing MBS or removing King Abdullah in Jordan and replacing them with another member of the royal family. This is not a regime change if it happens. It's just a leadership change from the crown prince to another crown prince, or from the current King Abdullah of Jordan to another king, which is his brother. But this is all far fetched. This is all, long, long strategy. But the Arab countries are quite familiar with the Israeli uh, human rights violations and how they turn against all of the Arab countries. I think what Israel is doing is not helping the conspiracy theories, unfortunately. They're only encouraging more people to become conspiracy theorists as we see them continue to conspire against people in the Middle East. What do you mean? What I mean is, as long as the Israeli government is killing people in Hamas, killing people in Gaza, as long as they are killing innocent people in Lebanon, and as long as they keep breaking the ceasefire, the rest of the Arab world could see this. They can feel it. They can sense it. So the Arab leaders face more danger from their own people than Israel, because their own people are like, what the fuck are you doing? Why aren't you more against Israel than we are? Why are you making so many connections with the Israeli government? Why is this getting disconnected? Do I need a new wire or what? Here you go. Something is wrong with my wire. Maybe I need a new wire. Well, I sound good, but then once this gets disconnected, it doesn't sound as good. And I paid good money for this, so we want it to be good. See what other questions. Not only someone is asking, is Mustafa Khamenei having, out for revenge against Trump? Not only him, the whole IRGC at this point, the whole Iranian regime at this point is in revenge mode because you've taken out their pope, essentially. You've taken out a lot of their leadership, and a lot of these people lost family members, including mothers, sisters, daughters, dads, brothers. You can count it all. They have lost them. And the more we do that, the more the John Wick theory appears. The more moderate people that we kill, the more we're left with more extremist hardliners. Mustafa Khamenei was known before he was appointed to be a hardliner very close to the military. He's even more hardline than the Saudi government. He's more hardline than his dad. Yesterday we talked about a few things, and by the end of the episode, we talked about the Saudi opposition, and we talked about the electronic flies, and we talked about the electronic bees, and then we talked about how I was asked a good question. Someone was asking me, like, what do you think when dissidents and abroad and the Western countries who are coming out demanding people on the ground risk their lives for regime change. Meanwhile, they're sitting somewhere in a Western country, having champagne or not feeling the consequences of what it means to be a grassroots organizer inside Iran or inside Saudi Arabia. And because they're so disconnected from that reality, a lot of time their expectations and their demands are also disconnected from reality. I strongly recommend you going back and watching yesterday's episode because I went in depth and I gave you guys a story, story time with Wajeeh. And the story was basically about how Jamal Khashoggi was working with members of the Saudi opposition and the diaspora to start grassroots organizing and fight back against the electronic warfare that the Saudi government was using to control public opinion in the kingdom. And as that went forward, a lot of people were affected by the economy or were affected by the Saudi political system decided that maybe it's a good idea for them to join this type of grassroots organizing and start doing, social media protesting and on, because that was the only thing that would have allowed them to protest what they want to protest without much uh, interference from the government. Twitter was the only tool that a lot of people in Saudi Arabia, for example, or in the rest of the Arab Gulf would use to go in anonymously and spread around hashtags that were big part of their grassroots organizing. One of the most important ones were uh, no taxation without representation. We fought for the woman rights to drive. Lujain Al Hadlul was the first woman that was driving in the kingdom and got arrested for it. And so we were creating this system where we allowed people to join us and be part of an electronic grassroots organizing where we were fighting back against the electronic warfare of the Saudi government, where they were controlling the public opinion, for example, on Twitter or YouTube or Instagram, to where we come in and we would have our own campaigns. I haven't gone in depth on how a campaign happens. A campaign happens in the flies or in the beehives by choosing a topic each day. We would pick a topic like women rights drive, and we would have every 15 minutes, for example, we have a group chat where thousands of people have, joined us, and we make it easy for people to join us to make it more accessible. But the more people you have, the more likely you allow government entities to have access to whatever you're planning or infiltrate, allow the Saudi government to infiltrate this project. So every 15 minutes, we would like, okay, now it's time to go start the first wave of tweets. So each person would have the hashtag and then they would make their own writing adding to it and they would throw a tweet. And, it'd be like few thousand people in the first 15 minutes. And then we wait another 15 minutes, we start another wave. Maybe another 30 minutes after that, we start another wave. And as more waves happens, and as each wave have a couple thousand people on it, we would be able to have some sort of control. See, it stopped working. Some sort of control over the kingdom, over the kingdom situation when it comes to controlling public opinion. So at that point, we would be able to be like, oh, such and such was a political prisoner in Saudi Arabia. We demand his release. We'll have like 10, 20 waves this day for that person. Unfortunately, when you live in the West and you start getting disconnected, you stop caring about the people that are sacrificing their lives. So the Saudi government was able to infiltrate. They convinced a good amount of the group to end up wanting to meet sort of in person at a certain coffee shop on a street called T1 in Saudi Arabia. And that coffee shop essentially became ground zero of catching every single person that was part of the beehive. And, we expected some sort of advocacy. We expected some sort of grassroots organizing on behalf of the people that were sacrificing their lives on the line to do this type of protest in the kingdom. And unfortunately, the people who were organizing this program didn't give a fuck. And when we confronted them, the person that was organizing this whole thing basically said, "I'm too busy. I'm going to college. I'm too busy going to college." And I respond to him, then why are you in charge of the program if you're too busy in college? So quietly, after a lot of propaganda about the beehive, electronic beehive, this whole thing came to go to the shit show. So the whole program ended up not working. We did not end up freeing any political prisoners. And the people that organized it are filthy rich, living an amazing life in the West. Same thing happens in Iran. When I hear people who are pro monarchist regime and they're like coming out demanding that people risk their lives, demanding that people fight the regime. And I'm sitting there and they're like, why is the prince not fighting? Raja Pahlavi, the crown prince of the so-called crown prince of Iran that has been born and raised in exile, all of a sudden wants to be in control of Iran. This is not Game of Thrones, Habibi. Go find somewhere else to play. Iranian people are not looking for another dictatorship. They're looking for a democracy. They go, oh, I'm gonna help with transition the government. He's not gonna help with transition nothing. Let me see what's going on here. You guys know how to head to the group chat and put your questions over there for me. I have my group chat I would like you guys to go to, and if you could enter my group chat in the live stream, in the group chat, there is a section where I said questions here, please. If you don't mind just adding your questions over there, making my life a little easier, I would appreciate that so I can find the questions and answer them for you. I also wanted to pull out my significant activity. The United States yesterday hit two oil tankers off of the Iran coast or the Iranian Persian Gulf. Meanwhile, while the world is in a rush trying to get some sort of ceasefire that's actually real, to get some sort of economic stability, the Iranian foreign minister has officially stated that today that they're reviewing the 14-point U.S. proposal at its own pace, meaning, motherfucker, slow down. I'm gonna make my own decision when I want to make it. Calm the hell down. We ain't gonna make a decision within 24 hours. Your 2 weeks timeline, you can put that, shove that somewhere else. Meanwhile, the United States citizens are like slapping their cheeks off. What the hell have we done? What the hell have we done? What am I doing? That's what's happening here. You're paying the bills, you're having shortages and everything, and the Iranians, they got nothing to lose. It's ride or die at this point for the Iranians. So they're going all out. One thing that has not been covered as much on the news is how the Gulf nations are cracking down on their citizens. Anyone that disagrees with the GCC at the moment, anyone that has some sort of sympathy toward Iran, is automatically integrated, and investigated, interrogated, and arrested, maybe put in a political prison until they figure all this out. Kuwait has been denationalizing thousands and thousands and thousands of citizens. No one is talking about that. Anyone that had any affiliation with Iran, anyone that has any affiliations with the Muslim Brotherhood, which has nothing to do with Iran, are all getting denationalized at the point. Things are getting spicy, and you're not even noticing. Despite the and Lebanon ceasefire breaches, since April 17th, and the Israeli government has been not respecting any ceasefire. And they want to continue peace negotiations with the Hezbollah, not even with Hezbollah, with the Lebanese government, while they're attacking southern Lebanon and annexed at least 30 kilometers. What the hell are you guys talking about? What the hell are you doing? This is not how you do peace talks. But, this is something you need to know. As we are watching the Israeli government treat Lebanese citizens, treat the Palestinian people, we have to remember that the Israeli military is the same organization that is training U.S. police to deal with us, U.S. citizens. So the United States police is being trained by the Israeli government that is fighting, right, Palestinians and is treating citizens like enemies. And then we wonder, why is the death rate through the U.S. police so high? Because they are trained to treat us like Palestinians. They are trained that everyone that they run by is an enemy and a potential suspect that could kill them. Damn, that's crazy. That's how the Israeli military treats the rest of the Arabs and the Palestinians and the neighboring countries. And you pay for it. You are paying. It's not free. You're paying for it out of your own taxes. So next time you're wondering why is the police so militarized in the United States, here's your answer. Additionally, any excess products that we have not sold to the military, from AR-15 and sniper rifles and tankers, all of these get repurposed, reproduct, repainted, and sold to the U.S. police. And you're like, why? Damn, why has the police got so much military weapons? That's why. They get a little discount on it and they sell it to the police. Wajih, could you please discuss the best case scenario versus the worst case scenario? Best case scenario, Trump comes to his realization that he's not in control of the Middle East and backs down on some of his like hardline ideas and steps away from supporting Israel war on Lebanon or and Gaza. That's like would be a moderate solution from this American side, and the Iranians would be willing to sign a treaty for their nuclear weapons and for Iran to slow down its nuclear production. But none of that is going to happen. Worst case scenario, Trump goes crazy and uses a nuclear bomb. That's worst case scenario. Nuclear weapons get used. Or we hit, or Israel hits any of the nuclear facilities in Iran, and you have nuclear waste spreading over the Persian Gulf, Arab Gulf, and uh, Omani Gulf, and the rest of the Arab states. That would be disastrous for nature, for people living there, for the economy, for everything. The other worst case scenario is this blockade stays for another 6 months. If it stays for another 2 months, you are going to be already facing most of the shortages that you can't handle. 6 months, this is another disaster. Best case scenario, both of them calm down and back up, but that's not going to happen. I don't see best case scenario. Someone is saying, I noticed the increase of militarization of the U.S. police from citizen journalists during Occupy Wall Street, and later figures Missouri live streaming. That is when you guys started noticing it. The U.S. police militarization has been happening for decades and decades. You guys are just noticing it now, even if it was from 2011. You guys have just noticed it now from 2011. But the U.S. police have been getting militarized for a while. Do you see Iran having Do you see Iran having a democratic government? Not anytime soon. And in their view, they have some sort of a democratic government because they have some sort of election. But I mean, we all know how serious that is. It would be interesting to imagine an alternative universe or history, one in which the Western power did not interfere in the uh, Persian area. Could you speculate about what type of country could be? Yeah, the whole Islamic. Someone is asking if the United States hasn't intervened and tried to change the leadership of Iran, how would have that changed the region? We would have had the democracy in Iran way long ago, and they would have had a more democratic system. Even though that once we intervened and took out the moderate Iranian, again, a more extremist came into power, and it was Khamenei at this time, and that's how we had the Islamic Revolution of Iran. It was that is what started most of the U.S. trouble in Iran. The U.S. intervention in changing their own democratic chosen leadership. And then we came in and we put the king in and it became another dictatorship. The United States has paid about someone is talking about the money that the United States has given Israel. I think we have given Israel since 1948 till 2026 $300 billion. $300 billion is how much we have paid Israel since 1958 until 2026. What would have happened if we put that in our education system or in our health system? What happened if we put that in our infrastructure? What happened? Texas has doubled its bond purchase in February to $280 million for Israel, I'm assuming. Meanwhile, again, I said this yesterday, the United States borrowing money in addition to the money that they have borrowed to pay for a war that they cannot pay for. The United States debt has exceeded the United States GDP. We have a president that promised that we will balance our budget, but we have not balanced our budget. You know what? I gave a military debrief a year before I graduated college to the Second Brigade at Fort Riley and to the Second Brigade in Fort Riley in Manhattan, Kansas, not too far away from Manhattan, Kansas. Riley is like 15-minute drive. And I was talking about, the chain of commands, who to talk to, who not to talk to, and the uh, Gulf nation military. After I finished my whole debrief, I had a guy come to me. He's Army intelligence. His question revealed to me a lot of things about the US military with one question. He said, "What is the difference between Shi'i and Sunni?" And I looked at that guy like, the hell you just asked me? It's like someone coming to me and asking me if I can give them the ABC. You are military intelligence. You're going to war in the Middle East fighting terrorist organizations. You're going to the Middle East to work with your allies. Your allies come from very complex history. And the only way we can solve this is if we understand the complex nuances in that region. We keep bringing stupid solutions that complicate the whole equation. And this motherfucker doesn't even know the difference between a Shia and Sunni. And that was before Trump. You guys need a lot more intelligence. You guys need a lot of more insiders. After I graduated college, I volunteered myself to join the U.S. military, speaking 10, speak and understand Arabic in almost 10 dialects. I have Sharia law background. I understand Islam. I understand anti-terrorism, and I'm a geopolitical analyst. Right? You think the military would take me? They were not interested. Now I'm disabled. Back in the day, I was strong, muscular, can run 5K, no problem. Now I barely do 2 blocks, but the reality is that when we even have competent people that want to serve and help this country, we don't give them the opportunity or the access to do so. And when we do have those specialists available, our leadership does not consult them like the Trump administration. What is not clear for you? Some of the biggest weaknesses to the U.S. military are as followed: ignorance, racism, undermining the enemy, and the black hole of spending that we have in our military. We have corruption in the United States military, where instead of the US government making and producing its own equipment, we are contracted out to private companies who overcharge us for things that should be way, way cheaper. And because they're overcharging us, we keep paying way more than our enemies does. And this has translated clearly in our current war with Iran, where the Iranians can use a 10,000, 20,000 drone to hit some of our most strategic infrastructure in the region. Yesterday, in the 2 days alone, the last 2 days alone, Iran has hit more than 300 precision targets and 14 different bases. Just in the last few days. And then I hear Trump comes out and goes, "We have destroyed the Iranian capabilities." What capabilities have you destroyed? What capabilities are you talking about? We have destroyed the Iranian capabilities. What? They have thousands and thousands of ballistic missiles rockets still. They have thousands and thousands of drones. And now they are making drones in Russia, and Russia is bringing them the upgraded version of the Shahid drone. They recently released another type of Shahid drone that instead of the propeller that it has in the back, it has a jet. It has a jet fuel. It goes. It's way faster and goes way further. The United States does not feel safe to be in the Persian Gulf. They're hanging out all the way back at the Omani Gulf. Oh, freedom of speech is endangered in America. Today we only have what 233. I appreciate everyone coming in. I said only. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. Today is a Saturday. Everyone's probably busy. If you're watching this on YouTube or if you're watching this right now, please share it with your friends and family. Subscribe. 50% of you are not subscribed. What is this? You just come in and watch and leave? I'm a good guy. Subscribe. Keep the knowledge. If you want a free paid subscription, let me know, and you can't afford it, I'll give you one. Does Jordan have a role to play in the current situation? The Jordanese role is to provide the United States with a strategic military base. They don't have anything more to offer. They don't have money, and their military is small enough and not strong as we'd like them to be involved. Any promise Trump made when he was campaigning were never meant to be honored. He is pathological liar and was installed. Yeah, I thought that was a question. Where are you looking to move? Let's keep that a secret for now. You are a great guy. Thank you. Subscribe. I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys too. This has been an amazing community where we've been connecting and learning from each other. I haven't written an article today yet, but working on one. We'll see if I could get it published. Yeah, Greg is like saying he wasn't aware of how the U.S. police has been trained by inside Israel, and Israel would make their own private companies and send them to the United States so they would train the U.S. police here. Yes, that's why they all feel very insecure and don't feel safe and view every citizen that as a possible target or as a possible enemy. The police is supposed to protect us, but you have to also understand the history of the police in the United States. If you ask any black person that has a history that goes back to slavery. And I was taught this by some of the hardcore grassroots organizer. Her name is Justice Gaston, or Gaston Justice Gaston. Yes, grassroots organizer in Kansas City, and she was the person that pointed out to me that the U.S. police was first started to catch runaway slaves. Before they were designed to protect us, they were designed to catch runaway slaves and bring them back to the slave owners. So the tone, and I have a lot of friends inside the police. I'm not against the police by any chance. I'm just against corruption. I'm against um racism. I'm against a system that is designed to create more mistakes. And when we don't admit or recognize the previous mistakes, we can't fix them. Please, like, take a minute, but think about it. Who is the most powerful person in the United States, even more powerful than the president? The police. If the police shoots a person and says that it's in self-defense, they get away with it, regardless. And if they lose their job in a city, they just go and get another job in another city. Problem is over. There is no actual checks and balances that come up with definitive decisions. And every once in a while, we hold some of them accountable and we take that on social media as, best, like, oh, look at us. We just held the police man accountable. No, we need legal changes that actually hold them accountable, not a court that every once in a while they hold someone accountable. I just, it's sad. It's really sad once you realize the history, once you understand where it comes from. You're like, wait a minute, what are we doing? Why are we doing it this way? Listen, some people go say abolish the police. I'm saying no, reform the police. Abolishing the police is too much of a work and will cause a lot of upsetness from a lot of side of the society. Additionally, it will not solve the problem. But reforming how the police operates makes a big difference. Why does every police officer in the United States needs to carry a weapon? If you're a mall security guard or if you're other places, I understand that shootings happen regularly in the United States, but giving every officer, regardless of rank, regardless of position, regardless of location, weapons, and then we take them to Israel, where we train them to use those weapons on people like Palestinians, and then the police comes back to the United States and treats us like Palestinians. Don't be surprised of how many innocent people get killed. Well, that's another problem. Someone says police carry weapon because random citizens carry weapon. That's a different topic. Yeah, that's. I'm not even going to touch that topic today. But we need reforms. We need reform. Like the end goal is reform. The end goal is system correctness. And if we don't want to recognize that we have a system that needs reform, then we can't get anywhere. We're going to continue to the same thing that we are dealing right now with the Iranians, where like we're at a standstill. If we are not going to recognize that we need basic reform, we're not going to get reforms done. If we're not going to get the far right or the far left to agree that there is some sort of problem that exists, white trash gets treated as badly as people of color in some areas. That's what they call white or redneck. I don't want to be rude, but that's and the police is a classist system. The United States Police is meant to protect property before people. It's important to protect property, but people come first. People come first. If we honor property before we honor humanity, what's the point of the system? I see homelessness in every city, and I see the police being used to shove them from one corner of the city to another corner of the city. Give them a goddamn park where they're allowed to have tents. If you don't want them to sleep on on the benches and inside the city, if you don't want them to be around, at least give them somewhere to survive. We have a lot of empty properties in every city in America that could be used to house these people. You want crime to go lower? Increase the income for the minimal people. Give people enough wages so they can eat. Rich people do not steal from other people because they are hungry. Corrupt people steal from other people because they're corrupt. But I've never been to a rich country where there's no homeless people stealing from each other. This goes 1,000 years plus, 1,400 years. But one of the Prophet companion, I'm not a Muslim, I'm an ex-Muslim, but this is something to take some wisdom. Okay. One of the Prophet companions is a very hardliner. He's what we call a literalist, meaning takes the actual word and apply it literally. The Islamic ideology says if you steal, you get your hand cut off. One time, there was hunger, and he was the king at the time. He was Amir al-Mu'minin, the Amir of the believers, and he stopped the ruling of cutting the hands off if you stole. People were like, what the hell? What's going on? They went to him and was like, why did you stop? You're a hardliner. You're a literalist. You apply Sharia. All of a sudden you stopped cutting people's hands for stealing? He goes, yes. They're not stealing because they are corrupt. They're stealing because they're feeding their kids. They're trying to feed their kids. There's difference between someone trying to make corruption and someone trying to survive. As we increase our income inequality, the more houseless people will see. As we not give enough resources for the Veterans Affairs to treat the soldiers coming back from war that have sacrificed their lives, sacrificed their loved ones, sacrificed their bodies, sacrificed their time and money to come back and not get any resources, they're going to end up homeless, houseless in the street. And then we treat them like shit because we expect or we look at them and they're like, oh, this motherfucker is lazy. We don't know this person was a Vietnam War veteran. We don't know this guy was an Afghani war veteran. We don't know this guy was an Iraqi war veteran. But what we assume is that they are lazy. What we assume is that they are not wanting the benefit of the society. Yet we have held back all the resources away from them. What we do is we give money to cities and we tell them, have a program for houseless people. So we end up hiring a whole bunch of community affair managers that end up getting wages, right? That don't go to the houseless people. And all they do is try to find them services that don't work. The money that we are giving away to these cities need to go directly to the houseless people. So they can directly spend it on their education, directly spend it on their healthcare, directly spend it on their housing. But if we go on like, oh, we have $10 million for housing, and we spend half of that on hiring people to give it away to the other people, what's the point? What's the point? There's a book I really want to recommend to you guys. It's very short, but very realistic. It's called Utopia for Realists. This is not bringing any fiction. This is bringing things that we have applied in our modern life. In Canada, they did a project one time where anyone in that city made below a certain amount got a check, no questions asked. They just received a check, making the difference of that income inequality. There was a small decrease in the unemployment in that city. Any Republican would come to me and goes, see, Wajeeh, we gave them money and now people stopped working. When we give money to poor people, they become even lazier. When we found out what they have done with that money, they either went back to school or went and got treated for their illnesses. So when we have invested in people, they either started go to the hospital to get the treatment that they needed to get treated. They went to go to college to catch up on the education they're short on so they can contribute to the economy. And the ones that got money, they spent it right away back in the economy. They didn't have money to save to begin with because they needed to spend that money right away into their food, into their bills, into their loans. So that money went directly back into the economy. Meanwhile, when we give tax cuts to billionaires, those tax cuts end up going to Switzerland or to Dubai or to some sort of offshore accounts, not to pay any loans in or not to pay any taxes in, or they would buy back their stocks so the shareholder worth would increase. And as my stock increases, as I buy stocks, as I'm a company, I'm buying stock back, my shareholder increases, I can borrow more money so I don't have to pay taxes on the money I borrowed. You know, I have a very idealistic idea. Very idealistic idea. Don't take it serious. But what if every person that dies, their wealth gets divided to everyone in the globe? Doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or not billionaire. Everyone starts at an equal level. You die, your money gets divided to everyone. Someone goes, what if you're a millionaire and you want to send that money to your kids? Don't worry. The money, anyone dying is automatic. Automatically, money will be coming to your bank account. You wake up next morning, more money in the bank account. Why? Because every day people dying. But as we have people die and that wealth gets divided, my point is, if rich people die and that wealth is divided to few people or one person, then the rest of the economy doesn't get benefited. We have people that continue to give money to their family members and save it somewhere else and not spend taxes, and that money doesn't go back into the economy. It's just a stupid idea. It's an idealistic idea. It's an idea I know it's not going to get applied anywhere. But what if anyone that dies, their wealth automatically gets distributed to everyone else? It's a stupid idea, but it's a point that I'm trying to make. The point is, the more we have money sitting somewhere that's not being invested in the economy, that's not being spent through the economy, that's not being shared with the rest of the globe, the more we have few rich people and the rest of us are fighting each other for what's left. We're fighting each other for crumbs of bread. Meanwhile, the rich is sitting eating steak. Well, if you have constant debt come, if the debt will not be distributed, I guess, because it would be paid off with how much is left by the people dying. The economy would substitute that. My idea is how to create a level starting level field for everyone to start out of. If every born child automatically has a bank account opened by the government, and every person that dies, that child will get an automatic amount of money to start with. By the time that child is an adult, he has an equal starting footing with everyone else. It's just an idea. I know no one is going to like it. I know a lot of people are going to hate it, but that idea is meant to make a point. As we have more income inequality, as we are going to continue fighting over breadcrumbs, as we are going to continue find houseless, as we are going to continue not to have enough resources for the city. Some stupid idea. It saddens me that we are not able to go to a talk with you in the state of this country. I'm not understanding what you're trying to say, Greg. Do you think our country was heading toward the right direction during Obama and Biden? No, I think it was at a standstill. The United States economy has been getting hit constantly, even before Obama and before Biden. The only time a president had a, a surplus in the economy of the United States since we started measuring the US economy was Clinton. That's why even though he had sexual scandal, that's why even though he might have, I think, sexually assaulted a woman, depending on who you asked, he got reelected again because his economy was really good. The United States needs to gain the world trust and needs to reimagine how it deals with the rest of the world economy, needs to rethink how it uses its sanctions, and needs to understand that its sanctions is weakening the United States, not strengthening the United States. Um, we are not going to get what we need. We're going to get disconnected from the rest of the globe. And we have a large part of this country that are isolationists. They want the United States to be cut off from the rest of the world. That's very dangerous for your democracy, for your economy, and for your diplomacy and your hegemony. All of the above. The United States never looked at the long term effect of the presidential decisions. Because when you are president, right, and you don't have to get approval over everything from Congress, even though you're supposed to. Um, I end up making, even if you're in Congress, I end up making decisions that are going to benefit me in the immediate term. Like, I am president. I want my approval numbers to be good. I want whatever decisions I do now to look good right now. Not look good tomorrow. I need it to look good now. So we made stupid decisions like empowering the current Al Saud family for becoming the kings of Arabia, and how that gave access to one of the most extremist ideologies in Islam to become in power. And that's what empowered Al Qaeda and empowered ISIS to get their extremist ideology from the Saudi monarchy that we have supported and put in power. For example, did we do that? Because we wanted the Saudis to fight the Russians in Afghanistan during the Cold War. So we make decisions based on our immediate best interest, not thinking in the long term effect. And we constantly do that. We undermine our sovereignty and hegemony in the long run because we end up making decisions that complicates the whole region, creating power vacuums, eliminating moderate ideas, and putting extremists in the headlines, not knowing that they are even extremists. It's just support us or the medium. You can see that with Biden, not Biden. We can see that now with Trump and the new president of Syria. I wish I'm making this shit up. I'm not. Oh yeah, it's bad. As someone say, in-person talks without you having to fear for your life, myself or for my life. Yeah, I fear for myself or for my life. If I get deported to Saudi Arabia will kill me. It's as simple as that. It's like there's no questions about what will happen to me if I get sent to Saudi Arabia. And the Trump administration can do that. More about Syria. Al-Julani, Ahmad al-Shar'i, the name that he likes to go by now, his name used to be Ahmad al-Julani. Julan is a certain region in Syria on the border of Israel, and his promise was essentially that he is such an extremist that he will fight not only Bashar al-Assad, but he will also fight the Israeli government to free Julan. That was part of his ideology while he was a general or a high level leader in Al Qaeda and ISIS. He was also, I don't know if you remember this, but when you saw the news story that came out from ISIS putting a couple pilots in cages and lighting them up on fire, that was him. He's the one that did the whole thing. Yeah, the Julan Heights. That's right. Al Julani was responsible for setting up this whole kill him by fire thing. That's how extreme he is. He doesn't believe in democracy, but now he believes somewhat in money. So now, MBS introduced Al Julani to I like to call him Al Julani not because that's his original position. I'm not gonna call him by his civilian name. He's a goddamn terrorist, and he is going to stay a terrorist. The Saudi government introduced him to Trump. He stepped into a vacuum where Assad was running away because Assad ran out of power, doesn't have enough soldiers, they didn't have any more. Russia was too busy with Ukraine. Iran was too busy with Hamas and Hezbollah. They were not. They didn't have enough time or money or effort to keep supporting Assad. Assad regime has been at war for 10 years. They're like, God damn, bro, figure it out yourself at this point. But Assad was such a failure and what's just even horrible dictator that at that point Al Julani had enough support from Turkey and enough support from other organizations that he went in and they took over Syria within 24 hours. Any other questions do we have for today? While you're here, I'd appreciate if you subscribe to my channel and like and comment. Invite your friends to come over and comment as well and join us. If you can afford to become a paid subscriber, please consider becoming a paid member. It's only $5 a month or $35 a year. It's purposely that cheap, so it's accessible for anyone and everyone that wants to join us. It's basically a meal. You pay me a meal a year or a cup of coffee a month, and I'm good with that. The more of you support me, the more content I can give you guys, and the more time I can give you guys. One of you guys said I'm a genius, and I was laughing. I was telling my husband the other day, like how many of you guys are calling me a genius. I'm like, you guys should talk to my husband and see what he says. Maybe I'm a genius in one topic, the Middle East and the U.S. conflict. Other than that, don't ask me anything. Other than that, I'm a total mess. But when it comes to the Middle East conflict, I can answer some questions for you. Uh, can you explain some of the Middle East hand gesture? Yeah, sure. This is mean I will kill you. Or I will hit you. Ya ويلك يا سود ليلك. How dare you? You've done this. Um, that's one of the easiest ones. Now each country you go to might have its own hand gestures. That's a good one. Give your hubby a hug for me. I will. Thank you, everyone. Well, thanks for everyone for tuning in. We've had a good turnout. Not as many as usual, but your support means everything to me. Your presence means everything to me. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for becoming a paid member. If you cannot become a paid member, message me and directly with the email associated with your account. You don't need to explain anything. You don't need to tell me you're disabled. You don't need to tell me you're on income, or you don't need to say it. Just say, I need a premium membership or easy pass on the house. I got you. And I got you. But if you want to support us, um, you know how. Just go to the page and like, subscribe, and share, and become a paid member. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow with two episodes. One in the morning with Malcolm. Wait, today is Saturday, right? Tomorrow's Sunday. And later at night, we have interview with Dr. Rehab, where we will investigate and break down the fall of the current U.S. presence in the Middle East and the fall of the U.S. hegemony in the Middle East. Very important topic discussed by a professor who specializes in this issue. And if you want the best insight regarding that, please tune in, and we'll see you tomorrow. It should be 3 p.m. my time, Central U.S. time. I added it to the group chat. I'll add it again to the group chat so you can add it to your calendar. Anyways, like I love to say, مع السلامة, bye bye, وبالإنجليزي goodbye. I'll see you tomorrow.